how negative self-talk almost talked me out of the biggest opportunity of my life. You're listening to Lil Debi, a bite-sized version of the podcast Upcycling with Deb. I'm your host, Deb Calametta. I wrote a #1 best-selling book called Best Offer, Best Life, and it teaches you how to leverage online yard sales to get the wealth that you want. I hope you'll get your free downloadable guide on my website, thedebsite.com. Picture it, a little house just outside of Boston. I'd stayed up really late. My book had just become available for sale on Amazon. It was one of the most exciting days of my life. As I was going to bed, I was so thankful and tearful because everyone of my tribe had showed up for me. They showed up big. And as I was drifting off to sleep on that #1 sales day, I felt so loved and so elevated. It was like this heavenly, ethereal feeling that I had. And I hope everyone has that feeling, not just once in their lives, but many times. And I went to bed and I was so excited. I prayed and I prayed that I would break the top 100 list on Amazon. I'm getting emotional thinking about it. I went to bed and I had almost cracked the top 100. And when I woke up super early the next morning, I just thought I'd take a peek-see. Just wanted to see if I had made it into the top 100. It was more than I could have ever dreamed for myself, but I thought I'd take a peek, and I made a deal with myself that I wouldn't be disappointed if I didn't crack those ranks. So I looked around 100, and I looked around 120, and I looked around 80, and I didn't see my book listed. And I was admittedly very disappointed. And I almost closed my laptop. I almost went back to bed. But there was a voice in my head so distinct. It said, "Look higher on the list. You're not looking high enough." It was an unmistakable feeling in my gut, words in my head, and I can hear them to this day. I took my scrolling button on my mouse. I scrolled past 60. I scrolled past 25. I still didn't see my book. And I scrolled up the list, up, up, up. And there it was at #1. I couldn't believe it. Ray, 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 wake up, wake up, wake up. I went to #1. We did it. We did it. We got to #1. I will never forget that moment so long as I live. It was like Christmas morning when you're 5 years old times 1,000. And I can't help but reflect on that time and think I almost entirely missed it. I was looking too low on the list. I was looking in the 100s and didn't see my book. And I said, you know what? I'm going to shut the lid. I didn't break into 100 and I'm not going to look again. I'm not going to torture myself. And I would have missed it. It went to #1 and there it stayed. Can you believe I almost missed it because I didn't think high enough? So I hope that that's a reminder to you that you should believe in yourself. I want to also point out that this is an example of how disastrous negative self-talk could have been and how it is when we use it perpetually. So it's at #1, and I took a bunch of screenshots with the time and the date and the ranking, and I looked at some of the other lists. I couldn't believe that I was neck and neck with some of my favorite authors. I was even next to one of the books by Joanna Gaines at the time and could not believe it. I have all the screenshots and I should really print them out because it's like a reminder of what can be done. And I often tell this story when I talk to youth groups or classrooms or the Girl Scouts because I want to remind everyone about what is possible, that ordinary people can do extraordinary things, but you have to be looking in the right place. And negative self-talk can force you to look in the wrong place. You have to course correct. You have to believe in yourself, and you have to know that it is possible. Listen to your gut. My gut was telling me, just this voice inside me was urging me to roll up to the top of the list. And I'm so glad I did. I was thinking it would be great to break into the top 100, but the universe or God had something so much more compelling, so much more thrilling for me. Number one. Don't make these assumptions in life that you can't do something. Don't assume that you can't get a good parking spot, so you always park far away. Don't slot yourself into a lower position because you think you don't deserve it. You do deserve it. If you work hard for it, it is possible. It's not guaranteed, but it is possible. It's so important for me to encourage people to think higher of themselves. That is what I want to do with my movement, to empower people who feel stuck in their lives, who feel like they're drowning in their own clutter. That's not how it should be. The clutter shouldn't be controlling your life. You control the clutter. And when you take control of your stuff, you'll take control of other areas of your life. There's so much stuff in our life that we cannot control, but we can control our stuff. You don't have to wait for a certain time of year or a person or anything. You have permission to do it right now. You can always make a change. You don't need to even wait until tomorrow. You can make changes where you are right now. I want to support your journey. I want to help you to get there. And if you can't do anything else, break out a broom and start sweeping up and let it have a trickle effect into other areas of your life. Start sweeping and then start cleaning and then start decluttering and then change the energy by changing the stuff that you allow in your house, and take control of your finances by not buying more stuff that you don't need and putting yourself in debt. It's a whole lifestyle, and I believe in it. I did it, and I want nothing more than to help you achieve it too. It is totally possible, and it's yours for the taking. Thanks for listening to this episode of Little Debbie, a bite-sized version of the podcast Upcycling with Deb. I'm your host, Deb Colameta. You can reach me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Deb Colameta. I hope you'll get your free downloadable guide on my website, thedebsite.com.